All that just to foul up reunification.
And they've got an analog computer at the Foreign Office, you know.
Does Marjorie know here?
I tried to get a hold of her, kid, but she seems to have left the hospital. I'm sorry, Patrick, but I'm afraid she's canceled the milk.
Next week's Monday film is A Guide for the Married Man. Walter Matthau stars as a lawyer who seeks advice on how to commit adultery without being found out, and the man to give him that advice is his best friend Ed Stander, played by Robert Morse. That's next Monday at 9:25.
Two new series begin tomorrow.
Hello, Kickstart is here again, and the 1982 championship has got 18 of the best international riders in the world.
Peter Purvis introduces BBC1's motorcycle trial competition at 6:35.
I'm not one of them, but my mate Mick Andrews is, former world champion. You've devised the courses, Mick. Are they going to cause real problems for these top guys?
A lot of problems, yes, especially the cars here.
Yeah, well, you're going to get water on your wheels before you get onto the cars, making it very difficult indeed. 18 of the world's top riders, whether you join them and us on Kickstart for the next 4 weeks here on BBC1.
And at 7:05, The Show Me Show. John Craven and Maggie Philbin set out to prove that science can be fun.
Hello, Maggie, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, John, but what's so new about a telephone?
Well, only that at the moment there are no telephone cables or anything like that connecting us. We're actually talking down a beam of light.
Kickstart and The Show Me Show. Two new series starting tomorrow on BBC1.
In a couple of minutes, we'll be joining B.A. Robertson for this week's B.A. in Music. That's after the news headlines with Michael Burke.
A British soldier, missing, presumed dead in the Falklands, has turned up alive and well. He's Scots Guardsman Philip Williams, who's 18 and comes from Lancaster. Guardsman Williams spent 7 weeks roaming the countryside, living off wildfowl and shellfish. He'd been reported missing, and 14 separate land and sea searches failed to find him. Then, last night, he walked into a farmhouse at Bluff Cove, 12 miles from Tumbledown Mountain, where he'd last been seen during the fighting on June the 14th. He said he'd lost his memory and was apparently under the impression that the war was still going on. The first day of the Sea-Link strike has delayed travellers, but other ferry operators have provided alternative services on all but the Channel Islands route. Seamen will be meeting tomorrow morning to decide whether to run a skeleton service to the islands. Another ferry company, B&I, have been forced to operate between Pembroke and Dublin from tomorrow because their berths in Holyhead are taken by idle Sea-Link ships. Talks between Sea-Link and the Seamen's Union have been going on for over 6 hours tonight at the arbitration service ACAS to try to end the dispute. Both the Soviet Union and the United States have sharply criticized Israel's action in Lebanon as shelling continues between Israeli and PLO forces. President Brezhnev urged the American leader to do more to stop what he called the continuing annihilation of the people of Beirut, while Mr. Reagan warned Israel that the world would no longer accept constantly escalating violence. 160 people died in yesterday's fighting. 400 were injured, many of them civilians. Labour's former chief whip, Mr. Bob Mellish, has resigned from the party. This is the latest move in a bitter feud with local officials and the London Labour Party. Mr Mellish says he'll resign as MP for Bermondsey, causing a by-election when the militant tendency candidate, Mr Peter Tatchell, is endorsed. Until then, he'll continue to vote with his Labour colleagues in Parliament. That's it from me. Good night.
This is BBC1. And now, time to join B.A. Robertson and his guests for this week's B.A. in Music.
Enough! Ladies and gentlemen, the man who even Hank Marvin calls God, Bert Weedon. Who could forget Play in a Day? Even Eric Clapton has a copy of this. He has a flight case made for it and takes it around the world with him.